Guys, so for today's video I'm finally going to be doing my nails after about 2-ish months of not having nails, and this set is special because it is my birthday set. My birthday is on Monday, so I'm really excited for that, and I'm really excited to finally have nails on again. The reason why I haven't had nails on for a couple months, I did mention it in a previous video. I have no idea, I can't remember which video it was, but I had done like this neon green jelly glitter set, and I had that on for probably a couple days. I don't even know that I had it on for a full week before this nail got ripped off. I was playing a game with my family, me and my sister, like our hands went at the same time, like to grab this one thing, and my hand hit right into her palm like this, and it hit at just the right angle, and the nail, the extension and my natural nail just ripped off. It was not pleasant at all. My natural nail was ripped down to probably about here, so I had like nothing there. It was just my nail bed pretty much completely exposed. So obviously couldn't put anything on that, had to wait for that to grow out. And then as it was growing out, I started experiencing, and I'm going to completely butcher this word, but it's onycholysis, I think is how you pronounce it. It's just when your nail plate is separating from your nail bed, so like your nail plate isn't attached at all. You can it still kind of have a little bit, like it does need to grow out a little bit more. You can see like it should all look like how this looks down here, but it's the white, kind of like, you know, when you let your nails grow and the free edge is this white because it's not attached to anything. That's what it is, just, you know, down here. And when you are experiencing that, you can't put anything on top of it because it's just going to, you know, make it worse. It's not going to get any better. So you really just have to let it grow out and do its thing. So I've been letting this grow out, and because I couldn't have anything on this nail, I didn't want to do the rest of my nails. They were painted a blue glitter, as you can kind of see, but I am a nail biter, and like really bad. I'm a really bad nail biter. Like I will bite my nails down like to nothing, which is why I put extensions on my nails, because I don't bite those. And I don't know, it's just like whenever it's my natural nails, even when I do just have like my protective hard gel layer on, I will still like bite at them and pick at them. So that's what's been happening here the last couple months. It's just me biting at them and picking at them, and then like, you know, they'll grow out a little bit and then they'll like break right here at the stress point, and then it's like pick it off, and then it's jagged, so then I'll bite it, and then like I try not to bite them and like pick at them and stuff, but you know, old habits die hard. So they are a hot mess right now, so we are going to get these all fixed up and looking better. Typically whenever I do my nail videos, I do just focus on the nail art. You've probably noticed that here on my channel if you've been watching for a while. I do just typically focus on the nail art. I don't really ever include like any nail prep or like building up the nail or anything like that, because with me, I basically do the same thing every single time. When it comes to like building up the nail, I don't do any kind of like designs or anything, or like French tips or anything like that. I just do clear nails and that's it. Never changes up. Sometimes it does, but it's very rare. So yeah, it's basically just clear nails all the time with my hard builder gel. So I feel like that's really boring to see the same thing over and over and over again, since I don't switch it up at all. I also don't switch up like the products I use. So I'm not, one video doing polygel, the next doing gel X, stuff like that, like other people do with their videos. It's just the same thing over and over again for me, and that's boring. No one wants to see that every single time I upload a video. So that's why I pretty much stick to just the nail art. But I figure for this video, since it is my birthday nails, I'll include a little bit of that in as a little treat for you guys, because I know some people do like seeing the whole process. And I do have videos up on my channel of like my prep. I also have like my protective layer application. I have filing videos. I just recently redid some of the videos because I do have some from like the beginning of my channel. It's all basically just the same thing with both, but whatever. But yeah, I'm going to include a little bit of that, so you'll get to see a little bit of my prep and application and all of that, because I don't usually include all that. So yeah. Okay, so just going in here with a little bit of prep. I'm starting by pushing back my cuticles, and then I go in with my e-file and the the flame bit, and I take that around and open up that little pocket there, and then I take a 180 sanding band and I go over the entire nail surface, getting up any leftover gel that is there, and also just kind of lightly roughing up the surface of my nail, so that way the product that I add on later will adhere to my nail. Also, there's a lot of parts in this video where I am out of frame. I do apologize for that. I was pretty into what I was doing and not focusing as much to being in frame and all of that. For some reason, whenever I do my own nails, I feel like I go out of frame a lot more than when I'm doing like press-ons. I think just because when I'm doing my own nails, I pull them like close to my face so I can actually see a little better. And I do tend to do a little more extra, like more detailed stuff on my nails, I feel like, maybe. I don't know, but for some reason, whenever I'm doing my own nails, I go out of frame way more than when I'm doing like the press-on nails that I'm doing. So I do apologize for that. Also, and you wouldn't know this unless I'm telling you, which I am telling you, but this video, The entire video was supposed to be me like talking in real time and explaining everything in real time. However, that when I was doing that, like the video was way too long, even after I edited it down and everything. Like it was just way too long for me to do that. So I just muted all the sound and I had to speed up most of the parts here. I mean, pretty much the entire video is sped up except for like when I show a product or something that I kind of just leave that in real time so you can actually see it. But anyhow, yeah, I mean, this video is still really long, even with me speeding up and now just doing the voiceover. But yeah, I don't know. I figured maybe you'd like to know that or something. I don't know. I forgot to mention, I also go through and snip off the little bit of dead skin that was left behind after doing all the rest of that. My cuticle cleanup took a lot longer than it usually does for me, just because I hadn't touched them for like 2 months. And usually I will do the cuticle cleanup when I do my nails, and then like 2 weeks later I will do like touch up cuticle cleanup just so they still look nice as the nails are growing out, and then I'll do them again when I do a whole new set. So these were, I hadn't touched these at all for those 2 months that I didn't have nails on, so they were definitely needing some extra love. And now I'm just pulling out my nail tips. These are the V Beauty Pure long nail tip, square tips, I think. I will say they have like redone their tips and like have added more sizes or like lengths to their tips. Since I have bought these, like this box is a few years old. But anyhow, I just pulled out those for reference if anybody cares. My thumb is a 3, my pointer is a 7, my middle is a 4, my ring is a 6, and my pinky is an 8. And then I go in with a ball bit and my e-file and just rough up the part that's going to get attached to my natural nail. And then for me, because I am extra oily on the nails, I do a lot of extra prep to make sure that nothing pops off. So on the tips, I will go in with the dehydrator and dehydrate that area that I etched, and then I will take the primer and also go over that. So I have physical etching and chemical etching, which again is, you don't have to do both of those. You don't even have to do the dehydrator and the primer on the tip. I just do because, again, I'm extra oily on my nails and things like to lift and pop off super easily. So I do take a bunch of extra steps just to make sure that I'm not going to have that issue. Then once I get the tips all prepped, I go in with a lint-free wipe and some acetone and then dry out my natural nails to make sure they're extra dry. Then I go in with dehydrator. Again, you don't have to do both of those steps. I just have to make sure that nothing pops off. Then I go in with the primer and apply that to the nails. And then I use my LGN rubber base to attach the nails or the tips to my nails, because for some reason just regular old air dry nail glue does not work for me. It does not stick at all. If I use that, those nails are popping off within a couple days, no matter how much prep I do. So I don't use regular air dry nail glue. I use my rubber base, and it works for me. So that's just how I attach them. So I'll put a little bit of the rubber base in that area that I had prepped on the tip, and then once I get that in there, I do tend to squeeze that area a little bit to bring it in a little bit more, because sometimes with nail tips, like the corners will kind of stick out a little bit. So I just squeeze them a little bit to prevent that. Then I put them on and I use my LGN flash cure lamp to get them cured on. And again, that's only a flash cure, so I do have to, after I get all the tips on, stick them into my full-size lamp to cure for the full 60 seconds. And then after I get that done, I just go in with my primer and I chemically etch the tips. You can use an e-file or a hand file or a buffer or whatever to physically etch the tips if you want. I don't do that because I don't like all the dust it creates, and then you have to wipe off the nails and clean off all the dust and everything. So I do like to chemically etch the tips. That way I'm not having to deal with all of the dust. And then after that dries down, I go in with the rubber base again and I apply that all the way from my natural nail all the way down the tip of the free edge of the tip that I just applied. And then I go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. And I don't do anything to the tips once I get them on. I don't file down that area where my natural nail and the tip meets. I don't do any kind of shaping or anything. I don't even file the little nub that's at the end that's from the tips being on the form that they're on in production or whatever. I just leave it how it is because in the end it really makes no difference and it's just wasting time. So any kind of filing that I do afterward, or any kind of filing that I do is after I get the nails built up, because again, I just feel like it makes no difference. It literally makes no difference for me to do any kind of filing before application or before or after application of my builder gel. So I just skip, all that pre-filing. And then after I get the base coat on, I'm just using the LGN Crystal Clear Hard Builder Gel. Like I said, this is what I always use whenever I build up the nails. It's just easier for me, and I don't typically do fills on myself, but if I was, it would make it a lot easier just to do the clear, because then I wouldn't have to worry about if I did a nude on the nail and then I wanted to switch it up to a different color or a different nude or whatever. I don't know. I just personally prefer to use clear for it because it's easier to customize and whatever, and if I were to do fills, it would just make it a lot easier, so I wasn't having to change the color of the gel that's on the nails, if that makes sense. I feel like I did not explain that very well. Um, Anyways, so I just go in with a little bit of the builder gel, apply that to the nail. That is my slip layer, which is just going to help the gel flow down the nail a lot easier. And when you do your slip layer, you want to be really careful because you want to make sure that you're not touching it to your skin or anything, because where you put that slip layer is where your larger glob of gel is going to flow to. I think that's what I was saying right here, and that's why I wasn't actually putting the gel on the nail yet at that point. I was kind of explaining that. So yeah, when you're doing your slip layer, you want to be extra careful, and you really want to pay attention to where that slip layer is going, because that's going to be your guide and like where the builder gel goes. Almost kind of like a river, you know, how rivers have their path that they follow, and they don't really go outside of that path. I mean, obviously, if there's flooding and stuff, but you know, same thing here. You don't want to make sure you're flooding because that's not good. Yeah, it's kind of basically like a river. So you're making that path to where your builder gel is going to go, and it's going to follow that path and stay on that path. So if you get any on your skin, it's going to follow that path, and it's all just going to get on your skin and flood, and it's not going to be good at all. And then when I apply the builder gel, I don't start right up at the cuticle because that does tend to lead to a lot of flooding. I take that bead and put it right where I want like the highest part of my apex to be, and then I just drag it down the nail, going side to side like that. And then the glob that I put down there, it does flow back a little bit to follow the slip layer up towards the cuticle area, and it doesn't flood into my skin or anything, and it keeps that cuticle area nice and flush, and it allows me to not really have to do really anything in the cuticle area when it comes to filing. So I don't really have to touch the cuticle at all when I go into my filing and shaping and all of that. I do go over it very lightly, very quickly, just to make sure everything is fully blended. But honestly, I really am not doing much up there at the cuticle with how I apply my builder gel. Also, if you are having issues with bubbles, if you're using a pot like this, I learned this from a nail tech on Instagram. Usually we're used to just like scooping straight from the middle of the pot, but instead run your brush and like scoop along the edge of the pot instead of just scooping into the middle of the pot, and that helps to prevent air bubbles. Also, you don't want to maneuver the gel a whole lot, because that also introduces air into the gel, and then you're going to get all those air bubbles. And then also, you want to, whenever you're applying the gel, you don't really want to lift your brush away, put your brush back down into the gel, lift your brush away, put it back, because that again also introduces air into the gel. So if you do those things, you should have very minimal air bubbles. You know, sometimes air bubbles just happen. Usually with builder gel, you can like drag the air bubbles down, and they will eventually like pop on their own as you drag them down. Sometimes they don't. If that really bothers you, you can like go in with like something sharp and pokey and just kind of poke out the air bubble there to get rid of it. But usually, I mean, it depends. If I'm doing a clear set or like a jelly set, then I will, try to get out those larger air bubbles if uh I want like that really clear or like jelly set. But for this set, it really didn't matter because it's all going to get covered up anyways with opaque color. So even if there were large air bubbles in it, I wouldn't see them. One thing though with the air bubbles, if they are on the surface, that could, or if they're close to the surface, that could, end up causing holes in the nails when you go to file them. So if that does happen, you would have to go in and like patch those up, unless you can like, it's like shallow enough to where it completely files off or whatever. But yeah, you might end up with a hole if you leave an air bubble. So you just want to try and kind of make sure you're not really getting those big giant air bubbles. I do have like teeny tiny air bubbles on the last 3 nails, because on the first 2 I used up the rest of one pot that I had, and then I opened this pot, and the first pot I was using has the new LGN label on it, whereas this pot has the old LGN label on it. And I don't know if there was like a formulation change or something when she, like if she did a formulation change and a label change, because the new label one is a lot thinner and runnier than this old label one. Like this old label bottle or jar of builder gel was really thick compared to the new label, and I've been using the new label a lot longer than I had used the old label, so I'm way more used to using the thinner one than this thicker one. And I don't think I realized that there was that much of a difference between them. I thought it was just all the same, and I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if there was like a slight formulation change, or if because this is an old jar that had been sitting in the back of my drawer that I didn't realize I had, if that had anything to do with it, because they're both sitting in the same room, in the same drawer, same temperature and everything. So I don't know why this jar is thicker or was thicker than the other jar. Like, I don't know, that was weird. I feel like that's everything I need to explain when it comes to building up the nail. So it's now the next day. After I finished filing, I got distracted by a bunch of other stuff and never came back to finish the nails. So now today I'm going to do the nail art and hopefully finish these nails. So the theme for this set is just birthday. So I have some like cake designs, and then I have like a present and some balloons. I was going through a few different ideas for what I wanted to do. I was actually really struggling this year because, I don't know, I just couldn't think of anything that I really wanted to do. Like the last few years I've done my birthday nails, I always knew exactly what I wanted to do, and so I did that. But this year, I don't know. I went through a few different ideas, and I was asking my family like what they thought I should do or whatever, and I just came to the conclusion to do birthday nails, birthday themed nails, so this is what I keep. The paper is like in my lamp and it keeps hitting the sensor. Anyhow, so This is my little drawing here. I'm doing the same thing on both my right hand and left hand. I mean, I usually do that anyhow, but sometimes I do switch it up a little bit and do a little bit different things. But for this one, it's going to be the exact same on my right and left hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so I started out using the Chon Legend Sea Breeze for the blue that I wanted, and Ballpit Field of Flowers. So you could see there on my palette, I had a whole bunch of different blues laid out. That's because for some reason I was thinking the bow that I was going to be adding on to the set later on was going to be blue, but it wasn't. It was going to be white. So I wasted a whole bunch of time trying to color match this blue bow charm that I had to a blue gel polish. And then I ended up, like, the blue that I chose to use that Sea Breeze didn't match the blue bow charm, because at that point I realized I didn't need to match it. So I just chose the blue that I liked the most. However, I did end up using a different blue in the end, and you will see that later on, and I'll explain it then. But anyhow, since it was the next day and like I had washed my hands and applied like skincare products and lotions and like hair care products and all of that, I did want to make sure that the nails were clean of any oils or dirt or anything. So I did wipe them off with some alcohol. Then I went in with the dehydrator and primer, again, just to make sure that everything was going to adhere to the nails, which honestly they will. I just take that extra step just to be extra sure. You really don't have to, because if you're doing gel nails, gel does stick to gel, so even if it's cured, like, it's gonna stick. I have forgotten to do my like primer step before, and I've never had an issue with the gel polish chipping or peeling off of my nails here. So like I said, it's unnecessary, but I like to take, you know, the extra steps just to make sure. So on the pinky, middle, and thumb, I went in with that Field of Flowers color and painted those with that. And then on the ring and pointer, I used the Sea Breeze color. I felt like the Field of Flowers was the most like confetti cake kind of look. I do have two other Ballpit polishes like that. There's a pink one and a purple one. And then she also just recently came out with like a whole collection where it's like a bunch of different colors like this, where it has like the little confetti in it and everything. But with the three that I currently have, I felt like the white was going to be the best and give me like the most confetti cake looking type of a look. And then I chose this blue because this is like my favorite shade of blue. I absolutely love this color, or this shade of blue. Blue is my favorite color, so that's why I'm going with blue for my birthday nails. But like I said, I did end up switching this because it ended up not matching with something that I do later on. I did end up doing 2 coats of both of these colors, and I cured each coat for 60 seconds. And now I'm going in with the light blue Fantasy Clay from Ballpit, and this is what I'm using to do the little like frosting or like icing bits on the nails. I use this on the pinky and the thumb, and I've never done cake nails before, so this was a new design for me and a new like technique for me, and it honestly really wasn't that hard. All I did was roll out a log and then chop it up to kind of try and create like even little pieces there, so my little frosting dollops would be roughly the same size. I did end up, and you'll see it here in a minute, I did end up combining two of the little globs there together, because I felt like at this size they were too small. It's not that they were too small, like it would have been fine, but it would have taken a lot longer and I would have had to use way more, and that just wasn't what I was wanting to do. I didn't want this to take super long, and I didn't want to have to use a whole bunch of 3D gel and all of that. So I did combine like two of them together to make them a little bit bigger, and I rolled them up into a ball first and then kind of rolled it into a little bit of a teardrop shape to get that like frosting dollop kind of look, if you know what I'm talking about, like the border of a cake, how it's like the little like shell looking type of dollops around it. That's what I was doing here for the pinky nail, so that's why I kind of rolled them into like little teardrop shapes to get that like almost kind of seashell type of shape once I got them on the nail. Yeah, so I started rolling them out here, and I was like, that is way too small. So then at some point I am like, yeah, I gotta combine these because they need to be a wee bit bigger. And then once I did that, they were fine and it worked out really well. And this 3D gel is the reason why I ended up switching the blue that I used on the ring and the pointer, because originally I was just going to paint on whatever sculpting gel that I used to match the blue on those two nails, because I knew I didn't have a blue that matched the kind of blue that I was wanting to use for my nails. So I was going to paint on top of them, but then once I got the pinky and the thumb done, I was sitting there looking at them and I was like, with all the detail that went on to the sculpting gel and with how much there is, I do not want to go through and try and paint these to match those two nails. So I ended up just filing off that blue color and repainting them with a different color that matched the sculpting gel better. But anyhow, after I got those all rolled out, I just took them and placed them on the nail. And this time I didn't put down any base coat because I didn't want to like add more layers on to the nail, which I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, because usually in my experience these 3D sculpting gels just do not stick very well if the surface isn't sticky. But to my surprise, it was sticking really well. They were adhering to the nail really well without having a sticky layer, because I did go in and wipe all of the nails off with alcohol after I got them cured, like I always do before I go in with any nail art. So I was a little worried that it was going to be difficult to get them stuck on the nail, but honestly it wasn't. They were sticking really well. So I got lucky there, I feel like, because usually I always have to put down a layer of base coat in order, or just have like the inhibition layer from the gel polish still on the nail in order to get the sculpting gel to stick. But anyhow, I just took one of the little beads that I made, stuck it down, kind of flattened it out a little bit with my silicone tool here, and then I used like the edge of it to create the little indents in it so it looks like icing that came out of like one of those star tips from the icing bag or whatever. And this is one of my sculpting tools that I got from the Dollar Tree. They work really well and they're really sturdy. So if you are getting into doing 3D sculpting and all of that with like the sculpting gels and the clays and whatever, I really recommend these because, like I said, they are very sturdy. They hold up really well. They work really well. I had no problems with them. If you watched the haul video where I got these, I did show that I do have some from like Shein or Temu or something. And those are really thin. They're really flimsy. They're not put together very well. And they were always difficult to use. But these ones from the Dollar Tree are really well, and they're only $1.25. So it's a good deal there because, you know, sometimes when you're buying nail tools from like somewhere that sells nail supplies or like a nail brand or whatever, they can be kind of pricey. And my hair just being there in the corner, I was getting really into it. And at first when I was doing this, like when I put the first one down, I didn't think I liked it. I was like, I don't think I really like this, and I thought I was going to have to change what I was doing. But I did go through and I did all of them. I put this entire border around the nail without curing anything, just so I could see what the whole nail looks like all together, because sometimes when you're doing nail art, like when you first start it, you're looking at it and you're like, this looks awful. But then once you keep going with it, like by the end of it, you're like, okay, it's not that bad. It actually looks really good. So I was like, maybe I just need to keep going with this and see how this looks, and if I like it, and if I don't, I'll just scrape them all off and figure something else out. But I did end up really liking it once it was all on the nail and everything. It did look really good and it looks like a cake. So I was happy with it and I left it, and then I did cure for a full 60 seconds. I do not show me doing this entire nail because this took quite a while. Like, it's a very tedious task, and it did take me quite a while to get them all into shape and get the little ridges in them and everything. So this is about as far as I get before I decide to stop filming it and just like finish out the rest and then come back when it was done. But that's how far I got. And then this is after I had cured it, and like I said, I really liked how it looked before I cured it, obviously. So I was actually really happy with how that came out. And it, while it does take a while to do, it's really not that hard of a design to do. So like really anyone could do it. Like honestly, I feel like the cake nails, I thought they were going to be a little bit more difficult, but they were actually really easy. I feel like it honestly kind of is like a beginner friendly type of set because there really isn't much and it's not hard, you know? And then for the thumb, I wanted to do like when you look at a tiered cake, or like even if it's not like a multi-tiered cake and it's just one like layer of cake, if you look at the sides of some of them, sometimes you'll see like the icing ribbons, I guess, and like they're like the loops going all the way around the nail. Or not the nail, the cake. I wanted it to look like that, so I wanted like 2 loops, or not loops, but like waves, I guess. I don't know. I wanted 2 going across the nail, but that was like really difficult for me to do. You're gonna see me attempt it a couple times on camera, and then I stopped filming because I was getting frustrated. I couldn't figure it out. I was trying to figure it out off camera. I tried probably about 5 or 6 different times to get the like double loop or double hump, kind of like a W, I guess. Um, See, like something like that, but better looking, you know? Uh, so I tried so many times to get it, couldn't get it, so I pivoted from that and I only did one loop. So instead of a W, I have a U now, or like a smile line, from a French tip. And that it looks good like that. I was really disappointed at first that I couldn't figure out the W situation, but just the U on it looks really well, and I do really like it. But yeah, I had to go off camera to figure this out and figure something else out, because when I realized I wasn't going to be able to do the whole W thing, it kind of changed what I was going to do. Also, originally on the drawing, I was going to do this part like the pinky nail, where it's like the scallops or whatever. Once I got that pinky nail done, I was like, there's no way, because I would have to make those teeny tiny, and there's absolutely no way. So I skipped that, and I was going to already do something different for that, and just do like some other kind of icing design for that. But then once I couldn't do that, I had to switch it up again, and as you see there, I decided to do like a ruffle kind of look here that I thought was really cute, and still was like, a type of icing ribbon that you will see on a cake. I actually ended up liking this a lot better than the original idea that I had in my mind. Well, not the original idea, but like the idea that I was trying to do on camera here. And then I just rolled out a thinner piece of the sculpting gel and placed that underneath. And I did just leave it plain because I was like, that's how I wanted it. In my original drawing, I wanted it to just be a plain thin ribbon. And so then I was like, I wanted more on this nail, because just having these two ribbons up here at the top and nothing down at the bottom, like, it just kind of looks empty. So I did do a second ruffle type of ribbon and a second thin skinny ribbon. So to do the ruffle ribbon, I just rolled out a piece. I did leave this one a little bit thicker, or roll it out a little bit thicker than how I was rolling out the second one. That way I had enough gel there to create the ruffles in the ribbon. And then I placed that on the nail and flattened it out a little bit to make it wider, so I could make those ruffles and it would actually look like, ruffles. And then I took my other silicone tool, which has like this pointed cone bit on it, and I just took that pointed part and stuck it underneath of it and just kind of wiggled it back and forth to create the opening. And then I lifted the gel up to create that ribbon look. And because this gel is super thick and it holds its shape really well, it didn't fall flat or anything. It all stayed up until I was completely done. Like, those two ribbons up at the top are still uncured, so you can see that this 3D gel does hold its shape really well, and you don't have to immediately go and flash cure it in order for it to keep its shape. It does keep its shape until you are ready to cure. And so I just went through, created those little ripples in it, and then once I got that how I liked, I rolled out my second little skinny ribbon there, put that on, and then when I was looking at it, I was kind of like, something isn't quite right. Like, I wasn't really loving it. It was the thin little skinny ribbons that I did, I wasn't really feeling. I was like, these just don't look right. Like, I don't like how these look with it, but the wavy ripple ribbons or whatever. And so I thought about scraping those off and doing like little tiny balls in like the same shape, like laying them on the nail in the same shape. But then I was like, I don't want to scrape this off. I don't want to make a whole bunch of tiny little balls. So then I just took my tweezers and did like little indents along it to kind of give it like a textured look, or look like it was kind of like piped on in like a scalp type of way, or like little tiny dots or whatever. And I thought that looked really good, so I left it like that, and then I cured it for 60 seconds. So yeah, it was at this point that I realized I did not want to go through and paint all of these as well as all of what I did on the pinky nail, and I was going to have to do that on both hands. I didn't want to do all that. That was going to take too much time, and it was just not worth it for me. So I, like I said, filed off the blue on the pointer and the ring, and I switched it with Peace and Love from Ballpit, which it doesn't match exactly to the 3D gel, but it matches close enough to where like you can't really tell that much. I mean, I can tell that there is a difference, but like I feel like most people aren't going to be looking that hard at it and be like, oh yeah, that's two different shades of blue or whatever. So it matched enough for me, and I was happy with it. Now I'm going in with some rhinestone glue. This is the McCart rhinestone glue. I really don't like it for rhinestone glue because it's like super cloudy and it's really thick and doesn't level out even if you put like top coat over it. But anyhow, I thought it'd be really well for like doing a 3D type of gel design on the nail because it is so thick and it does hold its shape pretty well. So I just mixed in a little bit of that Peace and Love color into it to make it the same color because I wanted this to look like icing. And then I just took my silicone tool and just kind of globbed it on a little bit. I did make it look kind of like it was icing, kind of dripping down the nail as well. And like I swirled it and made it just look really textured. Adding in the gel polish did loosen up the rhinestone glue a bit, so it wasn't holding its shape as much as it does like if you were to just use it straight out of the jar, but that was fine with me. It looked like icing. So I just kind of messed around with it until I got it to how I liked it. I really wasn't feeling it at first, but I just kept messing around with it until I got it, you know, in a way that I liked it. And then I actually did film this part where I was sculpting out cherries with 3D sculpting gel, but I cut that completely out of the video because I ended up not using those at all. But you will see me here in a second take one of the cherries I made and place it into this like icing glob that I made, because that was the whole plan, was to have a cherry on this nail so it looked like, you know, cherry on top of a cake or whatever. But I didn't like it. I wasn't really liking how I made the cherries in the first place. They were looking kind of weird. I was going to go over and like darken the cherry because I wanted like a dark cherry and not like the super bright red cherry, you know. So I was going to go over and paint over that later after I got it cured on, but I don't know, I felt like it was too big and it just wasn't looking right. I didn't like how it looked. Even like imagining how it would look when it was darker, I was not feeling it. I tried it in a few different like angles and laying it a few different ways, and I just was not feeling that at all. So I said, forget it. I don't want to use the cherries anymore. I'm just gonna leave it without. I think it looks better. I felt like the red was going to stand out too much and be too much contrast to the rest of the set, and I really didn't want that. So I said forget that, and I like put some more of the gel on to cover up where I had that cherry, and I went ahead and cured that for 60 seconds. Now I'm going in with the white from Ballpit and a 15mm liner brush and creating like the ribbon that goes on a present, you know, where you have the bow or whatever. So I just did a line down the middle vertically and then a line down the middle horizontally. I started out, you know, with a thin line and then I thickened it up. And then once I got that on, I did go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. And like I said in the beginning, I'm using a bow charm, and you know, I don't know, for some reason I was like, oh, it's got to be blue or whatever. It wasn't. It was always going to be white from the start anyhow. Like, it's written on my paper that where I had drawn everything up that it was white. So I don't know why I was thinking the bow was going to be blue, but anyhow, I didn't glue the bow charm on just yet. I was saving that for the end so then I could glue that on and top coat and everything all at the same time instead of going back and forth or whatever. So I just got the little lines here down for like the ribbon part before the bow goes on. And then I moved on to the pointer finger, which is going to have a bunch of balloons on it. So for the balloons, I'm using another Dollar Tree product, which is this 3D nail art gel that, this one isn't clear. They do also have a pink one, but I just took this and did like a little dollop and pulled it down a little bit to create like a teardrop balloon kind of shape, you know. I was struggling a little bit with this because it was being really, really runny. When I first tested it out, it wasn't this runny. And I had to redo this a few times to get the balloon shape that I was looking for. I don't know, it might have just been because it was a little bit hot when I was doing this. I mean, I do live in Arizona, so it's, 100 and a lot degrees outside. Like, it's been really hot and like whatever. Also, there's a lot of air in these tubes, so you kind of have to like massage the gel down. So probably it was heating up in between my hands or my fingers as I was like squeezing it down and trying to get all the gel down towards the tip. So there's a couple reasons why it might have been a little more liquidy there compared to when I first used it. I did also use that on a different set right before I did this set, so I was using it quite a bit. But anyhow, I got the balloon shape, and then I decided, at first I was just going to do all the balloons at first, but then I was thinking about how I was going to paint them, and I thought it'd be easier to like do each balloon individually or whatever. So I did the little balloon shape, cured that for 60 seconds, went in with the white and my 15mm liner brush and drew like the balloon string, and I just flash cured the balloon string. Then I went in with this glitter polish here called Cellophane from Ballpit because I wanted like glitter balloons. So I painted that on, cured that for 60 seconds. Then I went in with the Ballpit jelly colors. These are the colors from the Galactic Jellies collection that she has. I think there's Space Lake, Miss Universe, Warp Speed, Astroturf, Out of This World. And I forget what the orange one is. I think it's like Solar Sunset or something, like, I don't know. But those are the colors that I use. They're all really bright neon jellies, and I really love them. I love jelly polishes. But anyhow, I put the jelly color on and then cured that for 60 seconds. Then I did the next two balloons. And after I did one balloon, I cured that so it wasn't running all over. Then I did the next balloon, cured that. Well, I flash cured so it was hold its shape. And then after I got both of those balloons on, I did go ahead and cure for 60 seconds so that way they were fully cured before I added anything else on top of it. Then I painted on the strings, flash cured those. I was only flash curing the strings because clear was going over top of them, and then when I go to cure the next set of balloons, like, they would get fully cured when I did the full 60-second cure after that. But anyhow, did the glitter polish, cured that for 60 seconds. Then I went in with the jelly polishes. I flash cured the green after I got that on. Then I went in with the orange, and then I cured for 60 seconds. And I am curing for 60 seconds every time I know I'm going to add another layer on top, just to make sure that that bottom layer is fully cured, because as we all know, if the gel is too thick, it's not going to properly cure. And while I am doing thin layers of the gel polish and I am using jelly polishes, I want to make sure that everything is completely cured and there's no issues there. Then I finished the rest of the balloons off camera, just the same process that I did with those first three. Now I'm going in with this rhinestone glue here. I think it's Glitz Accessories and Such, that I hold condensed glue or whatever. I put a big glob of that down that I felt was going to cover where the bow was going to sit, and then I took my LGN shiny top coat, put that right on top, like I always do whenever I add on any kind of charms or rhinestones, because I do not want to go around all the charms or rhinestones afterwards, and with the top coat, and try not to get top coat on it or whatever. So rhinestone glue, top coat right on top of that. Then I put the charm or the rhinestones on or whatever. Then I cure that for the full 60 seconds. Also, adding the top coat on top of the rhinestone glue helps to smooth it out, even everything out, so you don't have like the lump of rhinestone glue on the nail that I just do not like the look of. I think it looks really messy. But anyhow, after I got that cured, actually I think I did only just flash cure it, or I think I only cured it for about 30 seconds or so because I was gonna have to stick my hand back in the lamp anyways to cure the top coat on the rest of the nails. So went in and top coated the rest of the nails, and it was pretty chaos trying to top coat these because of all the different 3D elements and all trying to get the top coat and all of the nooks and crannies and everything. The LGN shiny top coat is a thicker top coat, so it's not really the best for like 3D stuff because it can end up taking away some of those 3D elements with how thick it is and depending on how 3D you went with it. But it is my favorite top coat and I use it all the time for everything. If you are using it for 3D elements, you want to make sure you're doing like a very thin layer of it. And like really spreading it around and not using like, you know, how much you would normally use if you were top coating like a solid smooth nail or whatever. So I just went around, top coated everything, and I was going at every different direction, up, down, side to side, circles, whatever, just to make sure that that top coat was getting everywhere and getting into all of the little nooks and crannies and everything, because I didn't want anything to go top coated. And then once I got that on, I did cure it for 60 seconds. I was also going to top coat the bow because I didn't like that it was kind of matte and the rest of the nails were shiny, but the top coat does peel away from that. I learned when I did my Alice in Wonderland set, so I was going to have to like put a primer or something on it or kind of rough it up a little bit, and I didn't feel like doing that, so I ended up not top coating the bow charm on the ring nail, and actually it looks fine in the end. It really doesn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to, with it being, it's not fully matte, but it's also not like shiny, you know. But it really ended up not bothering me at all. And here are the finished results. I'm super happy with these. They came out so cute. I really like them. I don't know which is my favorite nail. It's either the balloon nail or the thumbnail with the cake and icing ribbons. They're so cute. And even though this wasn't my first choice for blue, I actually think it matches a lot better with the confetti polish rather than the other blue. Like, I don't know, it just feels more cake-like with this blue. But they're so cute. Oh, I didn't top coat the underneath. Yeah, I'll do that later. Also, ignore the crusty cuticles. I do need to apply cuticle oil, but I am gonna wait because I need to go feed the animals their dinner, and then I'll wash my face and all of that, and wash my hands, so it'll all just get washed off anyways. But they're so cute. I really like them. They came out so well. And this set took me about 5-ish hours, which honestly isn't too bad for me to do both my hands. And with as much as I did on them, usually it takes me at least double that to do something like this, especially with doing a bunch of new techniques. Like, I've never done cake nails before, so I've never done the little icing border or like these icing ribbons. I've also never done like the ruffle look either, so to do new stuff and do both my hands and have as many difficulties as I did throughout doing this set, doing it in 5 hours, honestly, not bad. Not bad at all. And also with how long they are. But I'm super happy with them. I still think my best birthday nail set that I did was last year's, when I did Starry Night and Water Lilies. Just because I really love art and paintings, and those are my two favorite paintings ever. So those are definitely my favorite, but I don't know, these might be a close second. And with the balloons on here, I ended up not liking how low they were over here. I wish I had done them a little higher, so I did do them higher over here. They also are more pyramid, in like a more pyramid shape over here, which I was trying to do over here too, and they kind of got all wonky, but I think I like how they ended up over here, like not in that like perfect triangle shape, kind of like over here is like it's an actual triangle. They look more balloon-like over here, but they both came out really well. So yeah, super happy with how this set came out. This was a really good set for my birthday nails. And yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.